Better Buildings for Humans is powered by Advanced Glazings, makers of the Solera line of products. Solera is the leading glass glazing made specifically for architectural daylighting and with extreme insulation performance. Learn more at advancedglazings.com. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Better Buildings for Humans. I'm your host, Joe Menchefski, and this is the podcast where we look at the impact that the built environment has on our health, our wellness, our productivity, our general joy of being alive. And of course, we like to talk about sustainable design as well. And on that note, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. HeliaTaheri. Dr. Taheri is with Arcadis, and I'm really looking forward to this episode. Pleasure to have you here, Helia. Wonderful for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Hi. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited for our conversation. And I think that's a very needed conversation that you are having in terms of better building for humans. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So we're going to do things a little bit different today. Normally I ask some very pointed questions, but today we're going to open it up a little bit and just kind of, flow a little more freely. But I do want to follow my format a little bit, and I want to open by getting people to know you a little bit better. I know you're an architect, you're a sustainability professional, human-centric design researcher. Let's start with what brought you to the world of architecture.
Absolutely. So I'm Helia. First of all, I'm in Virginia, so I'm in the United States. And so I was born and raised in Iran, in a family of artists in Iran, which is a land of history, culture, beautiful architecture, beautiful nature and people, and very brave women who are challenging the norm. So that had taught me the power of imagination, the respect for community, empowering others, like that value of connection that is rooted in my upbringing. So for my family, art, community, and education was really important. So I came to the Bachelor of Architectural Engineering at University of Tehran in Iran. And then after that, I went to Master of Architecture and Energy. So in architecture, I saw that I could blend the art with the rationale, like with the structure, material, all those things, which I was very passionate about as well. So in architecture, I found the overlap between these two. And at the same time, because my dad is a photographer, so I was doing a lot of photography. So that helped me to be a great observer. I was very patient because when you are doing photography, you have to be patient for a right moment to capture that moment. And also I learned how to blend in the environment, because when you are you're doing photograph from a city or an architecture or nature, anything like that, the best photographers are the people who are blending into the environment so that nobody noticed them. They just shot the natural moments, and empathy. So these traits helped me in my architecture practice. I did 4.5 years back in Iran as an architect, sustainability specialist, teacher, and then I moved to the US, which we can talk about it as well. So I moved to the US to do my PhD in human-centric research and work in different firms because I wanted to transition from practicing architecture to be a connector between design and research so that I can expand my impact. And I think that dance between the East upbringing and the West, education that I have expands my global perspectives and gave me a new lens to look at architecture, look at communities, look at how we can serve the community. And I live by my favorite quote in the world from Gandhi, who is saying that be the change you wish to see in the world. So I have it on my desk all the time. And that's how I do my work. And I do that by being like a hummingbird, pollinating between the field of architecture, sustainability, and human behaviors to help architects to design better buildings for humans, which is the name of your podcast as well. And I'm serving as a coacher in Researchers in Professional Practice Network, Knowledge Network at EDRA, which is Environmental Design Research Association. I am a design research advisor at CAUSE, which is Coalition for the Advanced Understanding of School Environment, which they are doing some tools for post-occupancy evaluation. I'm South by Southwest mentor. So that upbringing, which leads me to architecture, is kind of threading and threading to like weaving into all of the things that I am doing here and anywhere. So
that's wonderful. That's a lot. You're a busy
I
person.
know.
You're one of those people that have figured out how to make time or freeze time or however that works. But that's amazing. I want
It's a
to.
challenge.
I bet. I bet. I can't even imagine. I have to ask you because I've had several people on the show that have talked about human-centric design, and the definitions were always a little bit different. And I find it fascinating to hear the definitions. How would you define it?
So how I define human-centric design and research is that the design and research starts with human needs and experiences and expectations and looking at the human beings from a holistic perspective, from a whole person approach. So each of us have different, aspects. We have aspects for our mental health, physical health, social health, psychology, all of those things, as well as we have aspects for our work, for our family, for the value for connection. And each of us have different values. So I think understanding people whom we are designing for first, and then design the building around those needs is really how I define the human-centric research and design. And I also tie it to the evidence-based design as well. So the evidence that we are seeing in the built environment, how it impacts on people, how it impacts on their lives, the social connections, all those things, those are the things that create a design, not just, how I feel about the design. Like that's how I think the design should look like, and it gotta be like that. It's not how I see architecture.
Okay, so I have two more questions for that. Like, where does the data come from? First of all, is there some sort of common database repository, maybe through EDRA or something, where you can actually look at data if you want to answer a specific question? And secondly, do you do any direct research, like surveys, focus groups, those sorts of things?
Absolutely. Yes to both. I would say for the first one, we have some sort of, not at EDRA, but there are some databases that, they have some like basic demographics databases
Yeah.
that are publicly available. There are some companies that they are, collecting a lot of data like Leesman, which is like collecting a lot of data in terms of workplace and their experiences. But I think there is a lack in open access data, and I think that's what CAUSE also is doing. The coalition that I am a design research advisor, that they have open access like tools so people can use and gain the access to the data, and then have a like database for the school environment. But we don't have open databases for such purposes. That's why in my role, what I'm doing is I'm actively like designing methods, designing survey, interview, focus groups, observations, anything that's needed to answer the question of the project. I'm designing that. And the research usually comes in three phases of the design, at least in my role. In the first phase, like in a schematic phase or in the like vision, programming, all those things, to understand what does the client have in terms, because our clients, I'm so happy about it that they collect data. Like they know, some, not all of them, but some of them know like what's going on in their building, how people, experience all those things with different methodology. And what we are doing first, we are like reviewing all of those and then find a gap to see that, okay, this is the question that we want to answer in this project. This is the data that they have, and this is the gap for us to reach to that question. So that's where I come in, design some methods. And then the second phase is the prototype and testing. We do prototype and then gather human experience through different methodology. And then after the building being built, for the post-occupancy evaluation.
Right
So
on.
the answer to your question is both, but now we are more leaning toward designing our own methods, collecting data and all those things, because as far as I know, there is not a huge database that have, that experience of people, which is openly accessible.
Boy, that's a neat idea. Somebody should run with that ball.
I know.
That would be so valuable. I mean, it'd be really difficult because that data would be in so many different formats. But I mean, we know how to do that. The world knows how to handle big data like that. So, man,
Absolutely.
somebody should be working on that for sure. Now, your job title is Research and Insights Lead at Arcadis. You just beautifully described a big part of your job. Are there other aspects that you'd like to share so that we can understand a little better what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm a part of the experience design team at Arcadis.
Okay.
Arcadis is a big company. We have like 36,000 employees, but we have about, I think, 4,000 people in architecture and urbanism. So experience design team is within that architecture and urbanism. And I'm a researcher and I'm research lead in that team. So what I'm doing is basically I'm practice area agnostic. So one day I could work in workplace, the other day I could work in retail, the other day hospitality. So they are in different practice areas at Arcadis. And that's what I love about my job because all of them have human at the center of it. So that's how I get to know, like, okay, what are the experiences in hospitality? And the next day, what are the experiences in workplace? And we all know that the practice areas have blurred boundaries now. So they're kind of bent together. The hospitality comes to the workplace go to hospitality, the retail go to hospital. It's just a lot of overlaps in practice area and I get to see that, which is super amazing. And I also attend conferences, present research in different, platforms. Actually, this year I was in Yukon. I went to South by Southwest. So there are different conferences that I go actively to see what are the updated research that we see in our industry and share our findings to gain feedback from the audience. Yeah, basically that's it.
It's funny.
In a nutshell.
You just mentioned Yukon, and the Canadian took me immediately to YUKON as opposed to the University of Connecticut. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a cool place to visit, Helia. I hope you wore a warm jacket.
I know. It's Yukon. It's in Chicago.
Whoa, okay.
It's a workplace. It's a conference.
So despite my silliness, I love your passion. I absolutely love it. And I want to learn more about it. Tell me some of the things that you're working on these days that are really exciting, that are, keeping you so pumped.
There are a couple of things. One of them is so I never worked in retail before at all, like zero. And in my role in the past year, I am starting to understand how the retail environment shapes people's behaviors. And that's something that I always think about, okay, how we can create better behaviors, even in retail. Like we all know that, some of the retail spaces designed intentionally to make people do certain things. And my passion for human behavior and behavior change always think like, okay, how we can make those behavior change in a positive way so that it benefits people as well. So I was working I don't know if I can mention the client name, but I was working on a project that we did some prototype and testing to see how the customer experience is. And we were doing some iterations in that prototype. So that was really interesting. It was a very low fidelity and low cost prototype, but you see how much one change would in the prototype change the whole experience. So that was very exciting to me. The other project that I was working on is the workplace experience for huge tech client. So we were doing a lot of, interviews, focus group observations, and the differences of the needs between different personalities, between different teams, between different cultures was really interesting to me. It was like, it was just so interesting to see like why people are coming to the office in different countries. It's so different. Like, let's say if the company is in, I don't know, New York versus San Francisco versus India. So people are coming to the office for different reasons. Like in India, people come to the office because they usually live in multi-generational homes. They usually for some of them, not all of them, the AC is a challenge, like the thermal comfort in their home is a challenge. So they come to the office to be more comfortable, talk with their own generations. But let's say in San Francisco, usually people are living more in an environment that they can control. So bringing people back to office in some cities is more challenging than other
Right.
cities. So it's just seeing these differences in people. And I love to talk to people. It's just something that I really enjoy. So it's, hearing those stories was very interesting to me,
You'd have a hard
and
time
still
getting me
is.
to go to the office if I lived in San Francisco,
Yeah, I mean, and the commute is a
and the
huge thing as
commutes.
well.
Yeah.
So that's why we got to hear what are the people's challenges. Like, yes, I know we all like coming to the office, inspire collaboration, engagement, all those things, but we need to provide environment for people to do those things, and to give them some, guidelines, some resources for them to do what they want to do and be the best of themselves. So I think that change management, and it's another conversation. So
Right.
it's really interesting.
It's wonderful. I'm loving this energy and I'm loving this positivity. And now I'm going to
Thank you.
screw it up. I'm going to ruin it entirely. So let's throw all that out the window. Manage the connection between building occupants and the outside world using Solera translucent glass. Learn more at advancedglazings.com. Tell me about what's keeping you up at nights. What things are happening out there that just make you go, oh, I don't understand this. I don't know why I have to deal with this. Give us a few of those.
Oh my God. I have a list of those, but I can give you a few. I can give you a few, especially in the architecture realm, which is very aligned with our conversation. So there are a couple of things. One of them is that I'm so passionate about measuring our impact, and I believe it's too risky not to do that. It's
Right.
just too risky to build a multi-million-dollar building and just leave it there and just let people figure out with it and then go to another building. It's just too risky to do that, and we can learn a lot about it. And then I'm reading like human-centric research that has been done in other industries, like in car industry, in, I don't know, the retail, the consumer industry. It's just huge. But when you're seeing research has been done in architecture with all of the buildings that we have and a lot of opportunities, the percentage is very low. And I think just that is one of the things that keeps me up at night. And it's like how I can help to be a change in the world in terms of measuring our impact, how we can bring the awareness among people. It could be clients, it could be designers, and it could be people who are using the building, about the impact of their built environment on their health, connection, sense of community, sense of belonging, all of them. The building play a huge part of that. I'm not saying that building is the only thing that impact on all of these factors, but building play a role. And we can't close our eyes and say that, yeah, I know it's good, or just, just talk to a couple of people in the building. Yeah, it works perfect. So let's go to another building. We have to be systematic. We have to be strategic about measuring our impact. And that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. Another thing is that recently I was traveling in a couple of cities in Europe for our first year anniversary with my amazing life partner. And we went to different cities, like we went to Berlin, Frankfurt, Seville, Lisbon, Prague, and last year I went to Barcelona. But when I come back to my city, I'm like, it was so easy to walk around those cities in Europe.
Right.
And in Tehran, my hometown as well. It's just so easy because you see a lot of activities, you see a lot of, things, you see a lot of, not all of the cities, but you see greenery, you see less cars, you see people, you see residential, and then you see retail, and you see restaurants, and all of the things. And the cities are building and establishing so organically so that you can't feel it. But here, when we came to the US about 3 weeks ago, and we're just so bummed, I was like, oh my God, it was the best trip, it was so amazing. And then the next day, we wanted to go out, and we were like, okay, where do you want to go? And we realized that, again, we have to go to the car, drive the car to a place to go out, and then
Right.
go out, and then come to home with the car. And I was like, oh my God,
Just don't want to.
I don't know what exactly.
Yeah.
and the funny thing is, and the not the funny thing, the great thing is that this knowledge is being transferred to the US with different, researchers coming to the US or going back, a lot of travelers coming back and forth. So the need for the walkable city, 15-minute city, the city that can make you feel belong, is it's a need. And that's something that I love this topic, but I don't know exactly what we can do as a whole. But I think, yeah, as designers and planners, thinking more about less car oriented streets and more walkable streets, and let people just walk around and experience different things is a big thing for me, which is what I'm so super passionate about.
I absolutely love that. But I want to ask your opinion on something with regards to the 15-minute city. The walkable city, I absolutely love. And I mean, I just got back from Rome recently and we walked
Oh my
everywhere. My
gosh.
feet are killing me still months later. But it was just magnificent. And every time I'm in Europe, you get to do that. But you get to do that in New York too. You get to do that in,
Yes.
downtown Toronto. You can do that. Downtown Montreal, you can do that sort of thing. But the 15-minute city, here's the thing that makes me concerned. It's driving a whole lot of urban density, which means a lot of vertical architecture, very vertical architecture. The people at the bottom of that architecture start to get somewhat isolated from views. They get isolated from natural sunlight. It's just a lot of the weather and a lot of the natural world vanishes when we get a very vertical, densely urban architecture. What's your feeling on that?
I agree with you, Joe. And I think it reminds me the time that I love New York. I do
Me
love
too.
New York very much. When we went to New York a couple of months ago, I realized that how much I'm missing the sky. Like I couldn't see the
Yeah.
sky. I was just seeing, like I loved the activity in the streets and I was just walking around. I loved it. But to your point, I miss the sky. I miss the nature. I miss the, sound of birds. It was just a lot of stimuli around me with all the cars and all, To your point, for 15-minute city, yes. I'm not saying that it leads to more and more taller buildings. I would say that, and I 100% agree with you, Joe, in
Yeah.
terms of higher building and the impact on people in the street and the feeling, the sense of connection with the scale of the building is just too big, The scale of the tall building versus a
Yeah.
small person is just huge. But I think for 15-minute city, what I like about it, I'm not looking at it from a very much neighborhood thing that has a lot of tall buildings and a lot of activities that people can achieve. I would looking at it in terms of having all the things that you need around you within walking distance, so that you don't need to just drive your car to do grocery. You don't need to drive your car to do the I don't know, doctor appointment. You don't need to drive your car to do dry cleaning. All of them for me is leading to the walking between the places
Totally.
and those social interaction. But I get your point, Joe, in terms of like all these vertical buildings that are being built, which is on one hand, it's good for use of land.
Yes.
So we don't have to, use a lot of land for
Yes.
certain population, but being intentional about what those spaces feel for people in the street, as well as how we can have even some floors or even some areas, spaces in that tall building for the community to just, inject into the building. So you can have, vertical community and horizontal community. So how you can
Right.
merge them together. I think that would be my approach to that. And we were actually
Okay.
talking with one of my colleagues about that, of like how we can know that a tall building it's what we are going,
Right.
sometimes especially in high density cities, but how we can see some of those spaces in that building as a community spaces, as spaces that people can come in and interact and use the view of
Right.
that tall
Right.
building, the
Yeah.
skyline,
Yeah.
because they are paying the price on their health as well when you are building a tall building. So how we can give them back to the community.
I'd love to explore the idea of public spaces in the sky someday. I think I'd love to find somebody who did have that conversation, maybe a few people to have that conversation, because you just opened a whole
Yeah.
interesting topic there. We've got to get there. Is there any conversation about, vertical public spaces?
Actually, I was in my conversation with my colleague, we found she actually knew about a tall building in Brazil.
Yeah.
That they are doing the same thing.
Okay.
So because in the tall buildings, there are some floors apparently, and my colleague Laura knows about that. She's an expert in that. So there are some floors that they don't have any units in it. Like just a floor for mechanical or something like that. I don't know the purpose of them, but they are not a place that they can put the units into that.
Yep.
So in that building in Brazil, they are using those spaces for like community gyms or the place that people can just sit there and see the skyline of the city. So there, I know about that tower, but I don't know about other examples. It should be some, but there are a few.
Right. It's a neat concept. Somehow I'm going to figure out how to pursue that. There was a couple more things that I want to make sure I cover with you before we run out of time. So let's get there. First of all, you mentioned very early on, you mentioned post-occupancy evaluation. God, that's hard to pronounce. Post-occupancy evaluation. It's a hot topic. It's a really hot topic these days. It comes up almost every episode now. What kind of work are you doing in this area that may be interesting and innovative for our listeners?
Absolutely. So I can share two of the things that I was working on and I'm working on right now. Yeah, one of them is, and I agree with you, it's a very hot topic. And I still think the name post-occupancy evaluation is not a good name because there is nothing post-occupancy. The occupants comes and it's not post something.
Right.
But it's something that our industry is saying. I would usually mention it as measuring our impact kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the post-occupancy evaluation is a word that all of us are using.
Yeah.
So another project that I'm working on after the research that we did for the research fellowship program is to build a toolkit for our workplace to measure our impact of the design on people. And the toolkit overcomes the obstacles for time, budget, because we don't need to spend a lot of time on building the survey, interview, or anything like that to measure the employee experience, and we can just grab questions from that toolkit and customize it for a project, as well as we have a very easy to analyze results. And now we are launching it for our own offices. We are launching it for now in DC office to see what is the impact of the built environment on people, which I'm super excited. The survey will close tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to see how does the results look like. And we are offering to our clients. So, and that's what I said, be the change you want to see in the world. So I think those small pieces that I try to build some blocks to create those change, and by connecting with people, by connecting with passionate people in the firm that they want to do that and create that community of impact, that is the key to the change. So I'm super excited about this toolkit. And I am looking forward to do that in other practice areas.
Do you want to bring lots of healthy, beautiful, natural light in your building and still meet energy codes? Try Solera from Advanced Glazings. Learn more at advancedglazings.com. Oh, fantastic. All right. This is sort of a broad question. It's the last question before we get into sort of our closing section. But if you were in front of a room of new architectural students, new architects, what kind of advice would you give them? What suggestions would you make to people who are studying architecture, related complementary fields?
I would tell them, be curious, look around you, be a good observer of what's going on around you, what does the people behave in the space, as well as don't afraid to ask questions, like question things. If you don't think something is wrong, just question it, like why we are doing that. Do we think it's the right approach? This is my opinion. What do you think about that? So create some conversations with even people who you are not agree, to see that what our other perspectives are. And the last thing that I want to say to them is listen to your gut. And I think that like all of us have a passion, something that we care about. And that's the inner voice that we have when we are seeing that something is wrong, something is like, I'm listening to this thing and I get goosebumps. Like, what's going on? Like, why I feel that way? So that curiosity and not afraid to change is an advice I would give to the students. And I wished I had this advice from someone when I was a student. It takes a long time.
As an engineer, I'd say the same thing. I wish I'd had that
I
advice
know.
as well, for sure. And I'm sure a lot of
I
people
know.
appreciate hearing that. All right, here we are. My $1 million question, right? The question that I ask at every episode. And I tell my guests, please answer it from whatever perspective you'd like. Helia, what makes a great building?
Oh my God. The great building for me is the building that starts with human needs and starts with purpose. It's an intentional building. We are not building something because we want to. It's needed, and the design is around people. It's evidence-based. It's backed by data. It's continuously evolving. It's flexible. It's flexible enough that can serve different generations, different change in way of working, way of living. For me, a great design is a canvas. We are creating a canvas for people to create their lives in. And those people could change, but the canvas could stay flexible enough, adaptable enough, and adaptable enough so that it can accept those changes. And then when those people leave and other people comes, it can change based on those needs. So I think that the flexibility is a key, data-driven, human-centric, evidence-based design. We all know that. And the new topic that I'm falling in love with in the last year and a half is neuroscience and how it impacts on our wiring of the brain, the building. So yeah.
Absolutely. That was a wonderful answer.
So exciting.
That was a wonderful answer. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things happening these days. And it's wonderful to be able to talk to people who are really leading those changes. Do you have any exciting news? You mentioned the toolkit. You mentioned some other things that are coming. Is there anything else, other big events or announcements that you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely. I would say, the EDRA conference is coming up next year, Environmental Design Research Association. The call for abstracts, I believe it's in late November. Just check the EDRA website and see the tracks and submit proposals. It's an amazing conference, and this year we have a new structure, so it's great to see how the change impact the conference. And if you are interested to talk to people who are passionate about research, passionate about human-centric research, passionate about brain health, neurodiversity, all those things in the built environment, in industry and academia, EDRA is the place for you. And people there is so kind and generous. And I have attended EDRA for about 6 past years, and it's a home for me. So highly encourage people.
Where's it happening this year?
It's in Boston. Yeah, I think it's Boston. It's in Massachusetts. I think Amherst.
I can drive to Boston. That's good. Okay.
It's one of my favorite places that, you can learn different things and just talk to people.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Helia, thank you so much. It was a real joy speaking to you.
Thank you.
I want to have you back on in, I don't know, a few months or something, but let's go do it for a part 2 for sure.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Better Buildings for Humans. For more information on the world's best light diffusing and highly insulating glass glazing, please visit advancedglazings.com.